episode 19 of On the Shelf, the series. Thank you for joining me for this Masters of the Universe episode. I am the most powerful host in the universe, Mike. Today with me, we have Adam Maniff. Adam, how are we doing?
Hi, great, Mike. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's very nice to have you. I've been following you for a while on Instagram, which does not sound creepy or stalkery at all, but you are a fan of He-Man and She-Ra. So naturally, since that was one of my babysitters when I was a kid, I had to follow you. And how do I not reach out to bring you on the show?
Oh, I'm super excited. Thank you so much. This is my first interview, but I've been doing the Instagram stuff for a couple of years now, and it's really exciting to meet new people and hear, how much they love He-Man and She-Ra too.
Absolutely. So, Adam, before we get started, why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Adam. I live in Rhode Island. I'm originally from Boston. I have a partner of 13 years. We just got a dog about 6 months ago. He's a blue tick coonhound / Great Dane.
Boy.
So at 6 months old, he's 60 pounds. And I'm hoping he doesn't barge in here and start eating collectibles all the time. He's great. I've been in retail forever. I love the schedule where I can kind of make it my own. I'm working operations.
Awesome.
And I'm literally just like a gigantic child. My partner and I are hoping to adopt / foster very soon.
Awesome.
We've gone through the process, and I really can't wait to just share like everything I love with a new generation.
That's fantastic. Well, we're definitely going to have to keep that in the updates. Because you are now part of the On the Shelf dysfunctional family. So at some point,
Awesome.
We are going to have to welcome the niece or nephew into the new On the Shelf family.
Right? Yeah. I'm terrified if they watch something with me and they're like, I don't know what this is. I don't care. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. We can't. This doesn't work for me. Yeah.
So we are here today to talk about, as we said, your love of He-Man and She-Ra. How did this start? Where did this come from? And don't say Grayskull.
So it's kind of it's not really a story. I was born in 1983.
Okay.
So He-Man, the toy line started in 82.
Yep.
The cartoon premiered in 83. I checked in with my mother the other day, and I was like, I have this thing coming up. Like, do you remember the first time, maybe not the first time, but like who got me into He-Man? Like, did my uncle buy me something, or you planted me in front of the TV and that was like my afternoon thing? And she's like, I just remember you all of a sudden like grabbing a spatula and being like, I have the power when I was like 1 or 2. So for me, like, I never remember a time that He-Man wasn't part of my life.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of amazing. I think one of my first vivid memories is of being in Stewart's, which used to be a like big box retail store outside of Boston.
Okay.
And I remember asking my mother, begging her to buy me the She-Ra doll, the She-Ra toy.
Yep.
Because I had He-Man, Skeletor, and Hordak at home, and He-Man couldn't handle those two without his sister. And it worked. I got She-Ra, and that's literally one of my first memories. So it's just always been part of my life. And there was a time like in my teenage years and even early 20s where it was still like in the back of my mind, but it wasn't a passion. And with the internet and DVDs and all this stuff, like it really came back to the forefront. So now I have like dozens of He-Man T-shirts and all of this stuff that I wish I had had when I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, please don't even get me started. I have the original glow in the dark He-Man Sword of Power with the shield.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's
yeah, a little, like,
somewhere back there. I think Chris Reeve is hiding it, but it's.
Yeah.
It was one of my first Halloween costumes. Like, remember the old crappy masks with the crappy.
Yeah, the Ben Cooper stuff.
Yes, the Ben Cooper
like
stuff, right?
Plastic. Yeah. Oh, that stuff is so eerily beautiful.
It's art.
Some people I've seen online have like walls of the masks, and I'm like, oh, those are really freaky, but it's also really cool.
It was one of He-Man is like you said. I mean, I was born in 78, so I was conscious. I guess that was one of the first things. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're 1 and 2,
yeah.
But it stuck with me so much. I mean, I have a He-Man tattoo on my calf. Like, we're talking like I'm.
Oh, we got to see that.
Oh yeah, no, it'll go in the episode. I mean, I've even
Okay.
I didn't even hate the Dolph Lundgren He-Man.
Right. Yeah. Like And do you remember going to see it and being aware of like, yeah, that whole thing? It's amazing to listen to like the He-Man podcast or talk to people online, and they have all of these stories depending on which generation they were born into.
Right.
Like a lot of people that were your age or older remember when the toys came out, so
Yep.
they have all these stories about reading the mini comics, and that was their first introduction to it. I don't remember the mini comics until like maybe, I don't know, in the last like 20 years, I realized like, oh crap, like these came out with these stories, but I distinctly remember the cartoon, and
Yeah.
like that's where my generation like started to learn about He-Man and stuff. So it's just amazing to hear like there's like a span of 10 years where you've grown up and you have different ideas of the kind of He-Man that should be, or the stories, or go into the movies and seeing that movie and either loving it and you're like, this is so cool, or being a little bit older and being like, this isn't what I expected.
I was somewhere in the middle for that.
Property is so interesting. Yeah.
You know, even meeting Dolph Lundgren and having him sign a He-Man sword.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Yeah, everyone was getting Rocky gloves signed. Nope, I got a sword.
So is this when you were a child, or like in the last like 5 years or something?
Last year.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
still a child, technically?
Just trying to paint the picture. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
But now, He-Man and She-Ra, like you said, what about it? The animation, I mean, obviously was a lot of stock footage, and there was a lot of stuff that, you know, was just used over and over again, but the storylines behind it and the meanings behind it, it was, you know, right down to the, you know, the after school special message that was at the end. You know, it was more than just something mindless. I feel like it was more than just mindless cartoon. You know,
Yeah.
well written. I mean, look at some of the writers. Paul Dini was one of the freaking writers on it, for Christ's sake. You know, and look where he went.
Yeah.
You know,
So
so
people, I feel with He-Man and She-Ra, people don't give it enough credit because the idea, if you're not familiar with it, is it's based on a toy line, and those cartoons are just a 22-minute commercial. But you know, there were the morals, which, you know, some of them were hokey, but some of them were really deep for like 3 and 4 year olds. And I firmly believe that that's made me the kind of person I am today. Like there's, you know, all that goodness and like being nice and kind to people and doing the right thing. Like that stuff stuck with me. And I've talked to a lot of people that, you know, they remember that, whether it was consciously or subconsciously back in the day.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I feel the same exact way. That literally, and even when the Secret of the Sword came out, which was the bridge between He-Man and then his long lost stolen twin sister, Adora, She-Ra, it was like, it was phenomenal. Like to see that. Did I see that in the movie? That was in the movie theaters. I saw that. I think I saw that one in the movie theaters too.
People that saw that in the theater.
Yeah,
That's
I was.
So awesome. I would love. One of my like milestone birthdays, I dream of like renting out a theater and just putting that on the screen. I don't know if any of my like hometown friends would come to see it, so maybe I'd have to do like a webcast with, you know, all the He-Man fans.
Dude, and I will come to Rhode Island. I will tell your partner to invite me. I'm coming to Rhode Island, baby. I will totally do that.
I have Secret of the Sword on DVD, and that's one of the movies. Like anytime I'm feeling under the weather or just a bad day or I'm cleaning, like that's on in the background, and it's not even an hour and a half, but it's great. It's one of the things where if I'm vacuuming, like I know what they're saying, I know what's going on, like I could act it out for you right now.
I feel that way about the Superman movie. I'm the same way with Superman the movie. I could literally just keep it on. I know the entire script, the entire movie, all the lines, you know, word for word.
Yep.
I feel you.
It's great.
So how do you feel about the new She-Ra series that came out, and they're talking about now He-Man Revelations, which is coming out next year. What do you think?
Yep. I've watched all of the new She-Ra. I really enjoyed it. It has its opportunities. As a fan who knew all of the backstory, I was so excited to think about exploring Adora's relationship with the Horde. I feel like She-Ra has a more interesting story than He-Man, just based on like, you know, she was raised by the bad guy and she broke away from that, and like what that does to her psyche and like her relationships beforehand. So I was completely into it. It is written for a younger generation, so at times I was like, oh, you know, that's kind of hokey, but like, what am I going to do? I'm 36 years old. a lot of it is like really interesting. I enjoyed the first couple seasons, and then like the last couple seasons really ramped up and got super interesting. I really, really enjoyed it. I know some people did not, but I'm excited to think about the number of new fans it created. Because if you go on Instagram and you search for like the She-Ra hashtag, it's almost all of the new television series, which is great. I think that's amazing, and it's just going to push this fandom further into the future. You know, those people are going to show this series to their children. So, you know, for me, like that's what it boils down to. And as far as Revelation goes, I'm so excited. I'm very interested to think about that show. As Kevin Smith puts it, it's supposed to continue right where we left off in the 80s. Not so much just with the cartoon, but like everything you remember from the 80s, like we're going to see a lot of that. I'm super into like references, like anytime the new She-Ra story did something that like a new fan may not catch, I was completely like smitten by it. So I'm so excited for new He-Man stuff. It's gotten to the point where anytime I see something from Marvel, I'm like, that should be He-Man. Why isn't that He-Man? Was it Marvel? Like that should be She-Ra. Like all of this new stuff for school. Like there were notebooks on Target the other day. I'm like, this should have He-Man on it. Like why isn't this property just blowing up? There's so much history and story and potential. Like it's just so great. So, you know, anytime there's a new anything, I'm fully committed.
You're there. I agree with you. She-Ra, I agree with you. It was interesting to focus more. I feel like it was definitely went a different way than the series did. From from '85, but the one thing very disappointed that they did not that He-Man, no talk of Adam.
Yeah, I think there was definite potential for that, especially with some of the keywords that they used over and over in the series. And at one point there was a flashback or flash forward of Adora as a baby. So I'm like, cool, like he's got to be here, or Grayskull's got to be there, like. So I understand that it was Adora's story, and I completely respect that. But like up until the last 15 seconds, I was like, "Is He-Man showing up? Like, where's Prince Adam? Like anything?" Something. So
even if it was like a portal from Grayskull opening up, and like even the Sword of Power comes through first or something.
Sword of Power, like a silhouette, like something. So, but you know, I'm going to be hoping the same thing with Revelation, where you know Adam's story or He-Man or whoever, like where's She-Ra going to be in this? Like I feel like at the end of the new She-Ra Netflix series, I felt like they have to exist together. You know, it's almost a little sad when He-Man doesn't have a sister or his sister doesn't have him. Like, you know, they are their own series and story, which is great. But you know, I want my cake and I want to eat it too.
I think that's a very appropriate metaphor for this because it's I don't remember. I remember seeing the whole voice cast for He-Man, and I'm struggling to remember if there was a voice for you know She-Ra on there. I don't remember. I don't think so, right?
I don't think I saw it.
Yeah.
There's a few new-ish characters, but yeah, no Adora, no She-Ra. I would have been beside myself. So, but hopefully it's coming in the next season or something.
You know, Kevin Smith is a giant fanboy, and I'm sure that if anyone's going to put it in, because he's definitely somebody with a lot of respect for the older material.
Totally.
You know, he's just one of us that made it big. You know?
Yeah. I'm super excited about what this means for the story, merchandising too.
Oh, please.
So yeah, it'll be really exciting. I'm hoping we get a trailer at some point, maybe by the end of this year.
I hope so. I hope so. So speaking of merchandising, you, based on some of the pictures you show me and even the stuff behind you, you have a pretty neat collection. So why don't you show some of our viewers some of your wares, some of your goods?
Okay, sure. So my Instagram handle, Castle Gay Skull, which is the reason I'm here, I started that like 4.5 years ago, which sounds ridiculous. I remember being at work on my lunch break, and it was an exclusive that was announced for San Diego Comic-Con, and it was a 12-inch She-Ra right here. So this is literally like the doll that started it all. I remember like being in the lunchroom on my break at work, and they announced her. There were 3 separate like teaser pictures and there were just little pictures of like the top of her boot or like the corner of her crown, and I'm looking around for somebody to share this information with, and like nobody in my real life cared about this stuff. Like I tell my partner, and he's like, oh, another toy, okay, cool. And I was like, I got to connect with people that really enjoy this stuff as much as I do. So that's where Castle Gayskull was born, so that I could connect with other fans. And I've talked to like the designer of the dolls
Really?
a couple times. So it was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really neat to think about the amount of people I've talked to because of this silly Instagram account where, I'm sharing like my geekdom. Like I remember being like 12, 13, 14 in Walmart buying a toy and thinking like, oh, I'm too old for this. Like, when am I going to give this up? I'm never going to give this up. It's just, I still really enjoy this stuff. So, and it's great that we're part of like a nostalgic generation where they totally feed into it, and I am 100% behind it.
Just throwing money at them.
Yeah, like please, like don't tempt me with a good time. Yeah. So that She-Ra doll, like it was just something like I was so excited and nervous because it was an exclusive. I ended up buying her from eBay for like $50 more than she was retailing for before the convention, and just hoping like the eBay seller came through and everything worked out. So it was cool. But she's like if there was a fire in my house, I'm grabbing her and we're heading out. Yeah.
That's fair and equitable. I completely understand. I have a couple pieces like that in my collection, so I hear you. So what else you got?
Yeah. Obviously He-Man. This guy.
Oh yeah, that's the holiday one. Yep.
Yeah, holiday He-Man from Super 7 a couple years ago. So I love the Super 7 stuff, especially like the Club Grayskull stuff.
Yeah.
And this one was another teaser where I was like, oh, it's got to be Santa, Prince Adam from the holiday special.
Mm-hmm.
I was slightly disappointed when they showed this guy. And I was like, I'm trying to be a little more aware of what I buy and the space that I have and the money I put towards this stuff. I'm not going to get him. So I have the rest of Club Grayskull, all the animated figures. They're one of my favorites.
Oh, beautiful.
So like those are the toys I've needed my whole life. So this guy, I was like, okay, like let's, we've said goodbye to him. I'm not going to have him. And then Christmas morning, 2 years ago, I think was when he came out. I'm at my mother's and I'm opening presents, and I unwrap the wrapping paper and I see the special edition, like vintage He-Man wrapping paper. And immediately, like, my heart jumps into my throat, and I'm like, oh my God, I know what this is. And I can feel myself turning into like a 4-year-old boy, and like my whole face is lighting up. And my mother's kind of like, oh, what's going on? I hope he likes it. And I'm like, Mom, I know exactly what this is. And I ran to the kitchen to get like a butter knife, and I like popped the Scotch tape open and opened him up. And I'm like, thank you so much. She's like, well, I know you didn't ask for him, but because my mother got me, it was either one of the Club Grayskull subscriptions or the Thundercat subscriptions from Super 7.
Yep.
She still gets emails. She's like, I didn't know if you already had him, but I got him for you. And I was like, Mom, this is
a good mom.
I didn't ask for. Oh my God, it's just, she loves it because I'm one of 3 sons, and I'm the only one that's still like, I still want toys and like stuff that I would have asked for 25 years ago. So I told her, I was like, this is amazing.
That's
like
awesome.
It's not anything I expected. A lot of the things that I ask, like my partner for or my mother for, you have to pre-order, or they're things that have a limited window. So it's like, I already know I'm getting it. Please just, sign in at this point, buy it for me, and I'll get it when my birthday or Christmas comes around. But this was like such a nice surprise, and
legit surprise. You had no idea it was coming.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And like to this day, I remember that feeling, and I think that's why I'm into this so much. Like I just love feeling that nostalgia, like feeling like a kid, like this is special. So Holiday He-Man, as silly as he is one of those things that I'm just like I feel that Christmas morning spirit. So it's great.
That's fantastic. And my mother could tell you, she would tell you about the lines that she stood on when I was a kid to get He-Man from my brother and I, Grayskull, Snake Mountain, the whole shebang, man. She could tell you stories, stalking Toys R Us employees and just like, probably doing stuff that probably would have gotten her arrested for like harassment and stuff.
That's what you had to do back in the day. Yep.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's great. It's, the She-Ra, the Holiday He-Man, like I want that feeling of I don't know, like finally getting that toy in Stewart's when I was 4 years old. Like, this is the best thing ever. Like, that's where all this comes from.
It's like chasing that. It's like
One of
chasing
the
that feeling, chasing that drug, almost.
Yeah, chasing that high. Like,
Yep.
it's actually um, once upon a time, I think my brothers were making fun of me for the toys that I was getting, and my mother literally said to them, "At least it's not crack." And I say that to people all the time, like, oh, you could be doing worse things. Like, you're buying toys. This is great. Like, don't worry about it. Just do what makes you happy.
This is a very happy community for the most part, especially the ones who collect for the reasons that you and I collect, for the nostalgic reasons. I've met a lot of people through this show, these episodes, such people such as yourself, and through the website and everything. It's been nice to connect with people of like mind. You know what I mean? Oh, you of course know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I do this stuff. Like, if I'm having a bad day, with the Castle Gay Skull account, when I first started, I was trying to do like 3 posts a day. I wanted to build my audience, and it was all about like social media, and I was sort of chasing that high. After a few years, I was burnt out, and there was like a couple months where I stopped posting, and then I was like, I like this picture, I'm going to share it. And then I would start to reconnect with people, and I'm like, sharing these pictures is the same, it's like I'm going on a play date, and we're bringing our action figures, and we're telling those stories together. So yeah, this community is really great.
Fantastic.
I'm sure you're familiar with PowerCon.
Oh yeah.
Convention. I've never been.
Me neither.
But the closest I've gotten was this year when they did everything virtually, which was amazing for somebody like me who's never been. I know it was disappointing for a lot of people that had tickets and plans, but I'm really hoping to go next year. I just can't wait to go for the weekend and geek out with people and
fantastic.
Just talk about like Stratos' different color wings and Adora and Patra and all this stuff. Like, it's gonna be so good.
Have you ever met any of the voice actors and actresses from the show?
No.
Yeah.
Nope, I have not.
Sadly, neither have I. It was I got. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know what I would do. I would like to think I'd have enough courage to go up and be like, you're so great. Could you record like my voicemail messages or something? But I might just like wave from afar, like, oh my God, that's Melendi Britt or Helen Oppenheimer. Like,
oh yeah,
these guys are they're like legends, and just thinking about like the voices were so amazing.
Epic stuff. I actually met Larry Kenny, the voice of Lion-O.
I know, yeah.
And I did have him do it. I did. He
do the
did.
voicemail, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to, like, it's just great. And I'm sure he gets asked that all the time. He's probably got a whole spiel.
He does. He listen. It's like I was saying to a previous guest. A lot of these voice actors and actresses and stuff. They know they wouldn't have gotten where they did if it wasn't for the fans. Like, you could have been a fantastic voice actor and then just never, given a crap about the fans and just faded into obscurity. But the ones who you have, like Alan Oppenheimer does shows. I know for a fact still.
Yeah.
Sadly, I missed him last year. Last year because I had to work. So a friend of mine who was at the show was able to secure an autograph for me. So
that's awesome.
It was fantastic. And I still want to meet him. I still want to meet, the voice of Skeletor and freaking Man-at-Arms.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super exciting to think that he's going to be part of Revelation because he's doing Mossman's voice.
Yep.
And I just think that's like the best thing. Like, to think that that He-Man is still a part of his life as much as it is part of ours. Like, I just so much respect for that. It's so great.
It's so great. It really is. Do you have any other things to show to the class?
I mean, the only other thing I pulled down is the Club Grayskull.
Oh yeah,
He-Man. It's just like, the slightly older fans talk about remembering that the action figures they grew up with didn't look at all like the cartoon, and Man-at-Arms without the mustache and all this other stuff. But for me, like, I loved those toys because I was like 4 or 5. Like, I didn't know any better. I was using my imagination, which was the deal. And when Classics came out, I remember several times, I didn't really get into Classics. I wasn't connected to the purpose behind it, but I love the idea of updating the vintage toys for a modern audience. But I remember having He-Man and She-Ra in my shopping cart when they were on Matty Collector. and I was like, they're just not my He-Man and She-Ra. So I passed on them.
Yeah.
I've been to Rhode Island Comic Con a few times, and
Good
the
show.
first classics figure I got was Catra, because she's very authentic to the show, and like that was amazing. But when the cartoon Club Grayskull came out, I was like, "Yep, like if I have to mortgage the house to get them all, I want them." And it's just amazing. Like as they came in every month, I had them in another room that I hang out in, the living room, and I put them like right in front of the TV. So as I'm watching TV, I'm looking down and I'm like, these guys are literally like right out of the cartoons from the '80s. Like,
Yeah.
so the cartoon versions were it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, having the ones we grew up with were fantastic. I would have killed to have gotten
Totally.
like Wondar. That remember they did like
Oh,
would have loved it.
yeah, he's the weirdest thing. I love all the weird stories behind like certain characters, and he's still one that like nobody really knows where he came from.
Right.
Maybe Wonder Bread,
Right.
maybe it was like a manufacturing defect or something. But yeah, he's like brunette He-Man. Like where did he come from? Yeah.
I would love to own one of them, but I mean those are our figures, like you said, and I don't have many of the more recent figures, but I still if I don't watch a couple episodes of He-Man probably every couple months, I'd be lying. And by a couple
Right.
episodes, I mean like a season.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're like chips. Like you can't just pop one, and 20 minutes at a time. Like it's super easy, especially now. I was gonna say He-Man's on Netflix. He's not. I own him on iTunes, so he's just right on the Apple TV, and somehow that is more appealing to turn on than getting up and putting the DVDs in for me.
Yep.
So yeah, it's great to have them digitally and just at the ready. It's really fun.
That's awesome. So now, if you had more riches in Randor, and you had access to one of the portals in Grayskull, and you were able to get like any item that we consider a Grail item, like what would be your Holy Grail piece, or do you already have it? Some people already have it on the show.
I don't already have it. I thought about this because I was like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be like a new modern thing, it could be something from back in the day. A couple years ago, when I was like addicted to eBay, it was before the She-Ra figures were really like valuable. So I got a bunch of the original vintage ones for like $50 each.
Wow.
So I have like half a dozen. And the idea of getting like a Spinnerella is a third wave vintage Princess of Power figure that goes for like thousands of dollars. And occasionally she'll pop up on eBay.
Yeah.
But she's really worn or played with. I would love to find a carded one on even a beater card, because the vintage ones that I bought were all carded. And as soon as I got them, I opened them up like it was Christmas morning. So she's really great. There's a recent statue by PCS Toys.
Okay.
The Sorceress. And it's the cartoon version of Sorceress, and she just looks so amazing.
I know what
and
you're
it's
talking
like
about.
$500 or $600. Yeah. So I could probably swing it. I'd be in the doghouse for a little bit if I spent $500 on a statue. Yeah.
So not to interject on your Grail, but I feel as a He-Man fan, what I would probably go is I would probably try and meet Irwin, the voice of He-Man.
Oh yeah.
Because he's become a public recluse. The reason he doesn't do any public appearances is because, as I'm sure you know, he doesn't want to disappoint the fans. He doesn't want the fans to see the most powerful man in the universe as a, I believe, 70 or 80 something year old man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's so heartbreaking. Like this,
so sad.
This guy is still bringing so much joy into people's lives, and people of our age, some of them have children, and they're reciting "I Have the Power" and all that stuff in John Irwin's voice. So yeah, that would be amazing. I would like to think he's waiting for you and I to show up at PowerCon, and maybe that's like the year that he chooses to come. But yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be that would be probably like top 10 things in my life of accomplishments.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Because I'm not stalking him at his house, because that's just something we can't talk about on this episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Once we cut, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's the after hours.
Yeah, this is why we're meeting. Yeah.
So, all right. Now I'm going to ask you, Adam, the question that I've asked every one of my guests, myself included. If you had one shelf in your apartment, in your house, your room, your flat, wherever, and you were only allowed 3 items of your He-Man She-Ra collection on said shelf. Doesn't matter the size of the figures, it's a theoretical shelf, so it could be as big or small as you need. What 3 items from your collection would they be?
Definitely the She-Ra doll.
Absolutely.
She-Ra. I mean, I'm gonna have to say that the He-Man Club Grayskull, like this is my He-Man. This is that guy.
Yeah.
And then I think it would be the vintage sorceress, which I don't have. That was another Grail that I was gonna put out there. But I remember being a little kid and getting her for Easter morning, and I think I have a picture somewhere. I'm gonna have to dig it up and post it. But of me holding sorceress, and she has that. I distinctly remember having and playing with the flapping wings. So those 3, I think, are going on my shelf.
Those are quite the selection, and I think that any he fan or she fan would definitely approve. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good, sir. So, Adam, listen, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's always fantastic to A, meet collectors, and B, any fan of He-Man and She-Ra is, part of the He family. So,
Right? Yeah.
thank you.
My pleasure.
We look forward to hearing how it goes with the process with you and your partner bringing another member into the fold.
Thanks. I tell you, in my real life and on Instagram, like I wear my heart on my sleeve. And as much as Castle Grayskull has, it's about He-Man and She-Ra, like I've peppered a little bit of myself in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, once it happens, like you guys won't be able to get me to shut up. So yeah, thank you.
Very good. Very good. And folks, listen, thank you for coming and joining us today. All right. In the throne room of Eternia. We appreciate it. And if you haven't done so yet, that button right down there that says subscribe, hit it just once. I would appreciate it. Adam would appreciate it. So would all the other guests that have been on the show. All right. We have plenty of more episodes to film, plenty of more people to meet, many more collections to look at. So we want you to be a part of it. We want you to be a part of this On the Shelf family. So if you have a collection that you want to come on, talk to me about, find me on social media, email me. Let's talk. Let's have some fun. This is an organic process. This is not any sort of formal interview. We like to just talk and BS and have a good time. We want you to come. So, Adam, thank you again. And folks, thank you. Have a good one. Take care. See you soon.